Hello, dear friends, welcome to our YouTube channel, USA Football Zone, latest football highlights. The January transfer window was packed with rumors, sensational headlines, and some truly surprising moves. But for Chelsea, the biggest news wasn't about who they signed but rather who they kept. After months of relentless speculation, headlines linking his name everywhere, and a major transfer saga, Enzo Fernández remains a Chelsea player. Truth be told, everyone thought he was gone, following public comments, stalled contract negotiations, and even disciplinary measures imposed by the club. All signs pointed directly toward his departure. So, when his exit seemed all but certain, how did Chelsea manage to hold on to their star midfielder? This wasn't merely a change of heart regarding a standard transfer decision. It was a powerful statement. We are analyzing the real reasons why Enzo is staying at Stamford Bridge and what this signifies for the club's future. To truly grasp the shock of Enzo's potential departure, you must recall just how inevitable it seemed. This wasn't a rumor that sprang up overnight. It was a drama that had been brewing for months. Everything came to a head following that disappointing Champions League defeat against PSG. In the wake of that tension, Enzo gave an interview that caused a massive stir among the fans. He spoke of his admiration for clubs like Real Madrid, and although he didn't explicitly demand a transfer, his message was crystal clear, for a player who had arrived for a British record transfer fee. Even the slightest hint of building a future elsewhere served as a major red flag. That interview immediately pushed the board onto the defensive and created a media frenzy. But the drama didn't end there. Behind the scenes, contract renewal talks, which had ostensibly begun after the Club World Cup, ground to a halt. What was supposed to be a routine contract extension, intended to demonstrate his commitment, suddenly turned into a massive stumbling block. Then came that pivotal moment, the moment that all but sealed his departure from the club. The club took the drastic step of suspending Enzo for 2 matches. This punishment, handed down for his public comments, was viewed by almost everyone as the final nail in the coffin. A player valued at over £100 million is not temporarily suspended unless the relationship has completely broken down. The script had already been written. Chelsea had lost control, their star player wanted to leave, and selling him in January seemed to be the only way to bring this saga to a close. The question was no longer if he would leave, but rather for what fee and to whom he would go. While Enzo's story dominated the headlines, a major shift was taking place within the club. This transfer window was anything but quiet for Chelsea. The most significant change, undoubtedly, occurred in the manager's office. The Enzo Maresca era came to an end, and Liam Rosenior stepped in to succeed him as the new head coach. A new manager invariably brings with him a fresh mindset and a new vision, factors that added yet another layer of instability to the entire situation. And these changes were not confined solely to the manager's office. The departures of players were equally dramatic. Perhaps the most surprising move was Raheem Sterling's free transfer to Feyenoord. This move clearly signaled the end of an era as the club pivoted its strategic direction. A senior, high-earning player was making his exit. Shortly thereafter, Axel Disasi also left the club. He joined West Ham on loan, a clear indication that he no longer featured in the new manager's plans. Furthermore, Chelsea parted ways with several promising players who had risen through the ranks of their academy. Talented young players like Otto Ampa, who joined Stoke City, and Leo Castledine, who joined Middlesbrough, were sold on a permanent basis. These moves signaled a shift toward a new strategy, perhaps to maintain the club's financial equilibrium, or to clear a path for select players to break into the first team. And what of new signings? The club's activity was relatively quiet, focused entirely on the future. The only player signed for the first team was Issa Allah, a highly promising 17-year-old left-back emerging from the Sheffield Wednesday Academy. The objective of this transfer window was to refine the squad, not to spend lavishly. The aim was to clear out the old and start afresh, to re-establish the team culture under a new manager, and to prepare for future challenges. And amidst all this upheaval, a crucial decision had to be made regarding the future of Enzo Fernández. So despite all the turbulence and strong indications that he might leave the club, how did Chelsea manage to pull off this difficult feat? It wasn't down to a single factor, but rather a combination of astute business strategy, the influence of the new manager, and some well-considered long-term planning. Let's take a look at the real reasons why Enzo is still wearing the blue jersey. First and foremost, it all comes down to money. This is where Chelsea's strength lies. Enzo holds a massive contract that runs until 2032, a British record deal worth over £100 million. Having signed him for a specific fee, the club was unwilling to sell him for anything less than the price they had paid. The board's message was clear: any club interested in him would have to submit an offer commensurate with his status as the most expensive midfielder of all time. In January, a time when clubs are typically reluctant to spend large sums of money, finding someone willing to pay that price was nearly impossible. Chelsea's stance was simple: pay the price, or he stays. No one paid it. The second and arguably most crucial factor was the arrival of Liam Rosenior. A new manager meant a fresh start. Rosenior is renowned for his visionary, possession-based style of play and his penchant for developing young, technically gifted players. It is almost certain that his first move was to sit down with Enzo, the player around whom he would build his midfield and outline his new strategy. He surely explained how the team would leverage Enzo's strengths to establish him as the most pivotal player on the pitch. For a player with a winning mentality, hearing a clear and ambitious plan directly from the new boss was likely what convinced him to stay. Thirdly, one must consider the market itself. Enzo may have contemplated a move to Real Madrid, but was a deal truly feasible in January? Madrid typically maps out its major transfer plans several seasons in advance. They rarely spend upwards of €100 million in the middle of a campaign. Other clubs such as PSG and various Saudi Arabian teams were also mentioned in speculation, yet there was no indication that Enzo was desperate to join any of them. This is a familiar dynamic in the transfer market. A player may wish to leave his club, but if his preferred destination is unwilling to sign him, he finds himself stranded. Chelsea recognized this reality and effectively thwarted everyone's plans. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle: the summer promise. It is highly plausible that the club persuaded Enzo to stay on for another 6 months by outlining their plans for the 2026 summer transfer window. The centerpiece of that plan appears to be a major move to sign another Argentine World Cup winner, Julian Álvarez. Reports from sources such as ESPN claim that Chelsea is secretly working on a deal worth between €100 million and €120 million for the Atletico Madrid striker. By presenting Enzo with a concrete strategy to bring in a world-class forward and a compatriot, that the board may have framed the upcoming 6 months as a period for stabilizing the squad, thereby paving the way for significant progress in the following season. The message was likely this: stay right here, be our leader, and we will bring in the talent you need to win. Retaining Enzo sends a powerful message, but it also raises questions regarding the rest of the squad. All eyes are now fixed on who else will feature in this new project under the leadership of Rosenior. One player whose future remains shrouded in significant uncertainty is Mykhailo Mudryk. Since his big money transfer, Mudryk has displayed flashes of potential but has failed to deliver any concrete results. We have witnessed glimpses of his extraordinary pace and skill, yet these moments have been few and far between. His final ball and decision-making have often been frustrating, and he has failed to cement a regular spot in the starting lineup. With a contract running until 2031, Chelsea has secured his services for the long term. The question remains, however, can he adapt to Rosenior's system? Various reports suggest that the club is willing to send him out on loan to help him regain his form and confidence. Furthermore, as Chelsea actively pursues a top-tier attacking talent like Julian Álvarez, the pressure on forwards like Mudryk is only set to intensify. Time is running out for him to prove that he can be a genuine star rather than merely a talent defined by what-ifs. So, what do you all think was keeping Enzo the right decision? Or has Chelsea merely delayed a decision that was inevitable sooner or later? And how will his continued presence impact the team's chances of finishing in the top 4 this season? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this analysis, please do me a favor, click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future updates. Chelsea's January transfer window was, in essence, an exercise in calculated risk-taking. They faced significant public backlash regarding their star player, yet they stood firm on his valuation. Their gamble was that his long-term contract combined with the new manager's vision would be sufficient to keep him at Stamford Bridge. Rather than selling him immediately, they opted for stability alongside Rosenior. This transfer window wasn't about the unexpected impact of a new signing. Instead, it reflected the quiet confidence of a club that felt it was finally heading in the right direction. The decision to retain Enzo coupled with the effort to bring in a player like Julian Álvarez points to a clear strategic objective: building a world-class spine for the team, establish a core framework, and then assemble talented players around it. But everything hinges on how Enzo fits into this, depends entirely on whether one fully agrees with that speculation. So, the big question is, with Enzo in the squad and major transfer plans for the summer already underway, is this the moment when Chelsea will finally overcome their problems, or are we merely witnessing an attempt to mask their weaknesses? Only time will tell.